This is a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Lil.
Wow, full house. I'm Lil, I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Hi everybody. I'm Sean's sister, I'm Sean's big sister. So tonight you get to hear about our family. Our stories are pretty intertwined. First of all, I'd like to welcome all the newcomers home. Thank God you made it here. You have been touched to receive this program. Hold on tight, stick with us, hang with us. You live through it, and you don't have to do any of that anymore. And we've got the tools right here to help you day by day. And congratulations to the chip people and the birthday people. Taking chips and cakes is like Santa Claus or somebody you really respected as a child is going to give it to you. And I always felt that, along the way, but it doesn't stay that way. The memory has a funny way of letting you forget and thinking, well, maybe it wasn't so bad, and I'll tell you why I say that. But remember how good it felt today to take that chip, and to the birthday people to take that cake, and hold on to that, treasure it. It's precious. I speak to you as an alcoholic because first I did try to drink a lot of alcohol. And, even though I couldn't do it, I moved on to drugs and didn't look back. But I want to start back and share with you what the real core of my problems were. And we get to do work around here with the 12 steps as our guide to who really are you? Like, who are you that was out there self-destroying and, ruining your life and taking all that poison and thinking it was fun, and it was fun for a while, and then the music stopped. And there wasn't nobody dancing in the rock house. There wasn't no music going on around that table, But, so I like to roll it all the way back to, as a little girl, when I was, I think in our childhood, traumatic things happen because life is life. It dishes us all kind of stuff, and nobody said it was going to be fair, and in a lot of cases it's not fair. And when I was 3, my mom died, my mother died, but I didn't know what happened to her. She killed herself. She had mental illness, and this was way back before they really understood what to do. This was in the mid-40s. I'm older than I look. I know you're beginning to calculate. I'll be 65 next month. So that's why I can roll it back to the mid-40s. So when she disappeared at age 3, I thought, oh, I know it's me. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not, everything enough. I'm not enough. And I share this because this happened to me on such a deep subconscious level that I didn't know as a 3-year-old how to articulate this. But I knew that my dad, who kept me and took good care of me and, had no intentions of sending me away or, getting rid of me, I was afraid that if I didn't show him and thank him for keeping me, that he would send me away, he wouldn't want me. Because it must have been me, the reason she left. And so I set out to be the best little girl ever. Please everybody, win everything, achieve everything. In fact, achievement was my first drug of choice. I couldn't get enough because there would never be enough to fill that hole inside of me that said I wasn't enough. So I set out to be president of all the little junior high school, everything, and being black, that was a little bit tricky, to be the first black student body president at Mount Vernon Junior High School. It's like, who do you think you are? Oh, You know, we come here with a passion. I think we're the 10% of the population that is so special. We have a passion and a desire to do anything we want to. And therefore, we've survived to live and be in this room today. You know, this is a testament to who we are. So I had a lot of success, and my dad was very proud of me. And at age 7, he remarried. So here I was, this little girl who got a mom, and oh my God, you know, this is really what I needed, and this would be Sean's mother. Now, I would have this wonderful mom and dad now to myself for 10 years, because they didn't have their first child, Sean, for 10 years. So I was so spoiled. I was like, you know, achieving this and outstanding this and spoil, just the focus of their attention. And at 6 months old, when Sean was born, I was 17. So when he was 6 months, I went to college, and then he had them all to himself. So he's spoiled rotten, all their attention, you know, the same thing. We're both like only children, you know. So we really didn't know each other, and it wasn't until later, it was cocaine that would help us become friends. You know what I mean? So I'll share a couple of little stories with you, just really insane stuff. We did drink and use together, you know, and here we are sitting as sober members of this fellowship and these 12 steps, and it's indeed a miracle in God's grace. I went away to college, and I happened to be going to college in '60 when Kennedy and Nixon were running for the presidency. And I was at Whittier, Nixon's college, and one of the very few Democrats on the whole campus, and he was on campus. And Kennedy beat him. And that was like the beginning of what would be the civil rights movement. And I was right there to, you know, to be in the middle of all of that. And then 2 years later, I went to Berkeley. And if you know anything about Berkeley in 1962, here we go. I was there from 62 to 73. And let me tell you. What can I say? I graduated in '64, so I did get a degree. My degree is in social work, but my initials are LSD naturally. So I thought that gave me a special birthright, you know. So I did acid. I tried drinking, and the drinking just really made me sick. In fact, when I had my first margarita, I liked it so much I had 9. 9. When I had when I would drink champagne, I remember I was at a banking party, and this is a work party where you're supposed to act like you're still at work, but they're all the people that you work with. And they were serving champagne. Well, whenever I drink champagne, somehow I ended up on top of the table dancing with the centerpiece in my hair. You know, so I just thought I needed to leave alcohol alone. And I moved on to marijuana, and then when I got to Berkeley, it was all about the revolution. We were serious. You know, it's amazing. I mean, I would have died for that revolution. In fact, we put our lives pretty much out there. I was a Black Panther. Maybe some of you have heard of the Black Panthers. Power to the people. That's the revolution I'm talking about. And actually, I worked my way up in my high-achieving way of running with the leaders. Angela Davis was our spiritual leader, and we were doing prison reform way before, you know, starting that movement, because, you know, inmates were not being treated right. They were not being, their civil rights were not being respected. So that was the first time that I led a double life, because by night I was a Black Panther, and by day I worked as a social worker. And in my mind, it was consistent. You know, it was consistent. We were working to make a better world, and that's just the way it was. We had CIA files because, you know, whenever you attend anything involving the Black Panthers or those Black revolutionaries, the CIA was in on it. But, you know, you don't, you know, the youth is idealistic. You know, who cares about a file? We are trying to get breakfast to young kids who are on their way to school with nothing in their stomachs. That was the breakfast program at the Episcopal Church, you know, and that stuff was important to me and to us that worked in that. So just to give you a little bit of history. So I went on and continued doing this double life. And then in '73, when Nixon got back in, we'd lost the revolution. It was over. And we all had to fade back into the system and get polyester suits and, you know, go back to working. So I came back home in '73, and I had met cocaine in '72 in San Francisco, right before I came back. And if you know anything about cocaine, when you really get that first hit right, and this is just snorting it, it was like, oh yeah, I'm on top of the world. This is really what I like. So that would take me for a 15-year run on this powder that would wreck my life. I came back, and Sean and I actually began to have a relationship as brother and sister, as friends, doing coke. He had a job where he was getting really good coke because he was hanging with the sports guys, you know, the professionals. So my little brother, was my dealer. I mean, that is just so disgusting. And I had no respect, you know, as far as, you know, oh my goodness, I should be setting a better example, you know. It was, so we started running together. You know, we actually running together. And my goodness, the families, what we put our families through, you know, our parents, our dad died 6 years ago. And he was so proud of us that we made it to these rooms. And they would come and give us a cake at every juncture, you know, at every cake. And because this is a miracle that we even make it here, and that you make it to time to take a cake. You know, just a miracle. So we ran really hard, and I knew I had a problem. You get to the point where it's not fun to spend the rent check, and even though you say, I'm gonna put it back, it's not fun. You know, it's like, who's fooling who? You know what, you know, this is totally out of control. And when I was spending the rent check and taking the drugs to work, I was working in a bank, and God, I was like, at first I was just using it on the weekends, and then just at weddings. And then it was like during the week, you know, and then I was taking it to the bank, and when I started smoking coke, and I kind of got tricked into that, I gave the dope lady my money, and she said, I don't have any powder. I got this. And that was the switch. She had my money, you know. I'm like stuck, you know, and that was a switch. Because once you start smoking that, guess what? You don't want the powder. Well, except to sprinkle it on a joint and make a primo. So I was working for First Interstate Bank. I'm taking the pipe, the rock, the 151, the torch to the bank. That's just insane. Okay, step 2, that's insanity. That's insanity. And I would go at my lunch hour smoke it under a blanket. So the whole thing could catch on fire. They've got cameras. It's going to be on the 11 o'clock news, you know. It's like, it's insane. That's where I was. It got to the point that they told me I had a attendance problem, and they were going to put me on probation, and I had been there 12 years. middle management. So I quick got out of that and got to another job. But one day I went to the Rock House to get a 20, and I stayed 3 days. This is an obsessive mental illness. That allergy of the body and the obsession of the mind, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. It's in control. Once you take that first one, once it hooks into that, that system hooks in, that process starts, there's no turning back. And I ended up losing the job that I had found, and then I was just out there. So I ended up, here I am, being given all these opportunities. A college-educated woman, doesn't matter, when you're hitting the pipe, ended up on Skid Row because I didn't have any place to live. And I stayed at a women's shelter, the Betty Rip Women's Shelter, because they had 50 cots. And they said, if you get there early and you don't tell anybody you have a cocaine problem, because at first you have more cocaine than you know what to do with. If anybody in here knows that you got a problem. And here I was way in out of my comfort level. I was scared to death. And my family really, my dad was so discouraged and disgusted. A woman can, a guy can slip in the gutter and then get up, and then, he's had some experience with life, and they see it as worldliness. If a woman slips in the gutter and gets up, society doesn't look at it like, oh, yeah, okay, come on back. He said he didn't want anything to do with me. And so here's this dad that at 3 years old, I made this pledge to myself to please him and make him proud of me. And here I was in 1987, on Skid Row, 5th and San Pedro, and he didn't want anything to do with me. That was my first bottom. And I say first bottom because there's another one coming. This is thick. I wouldn't have known it at that time, but I was in the breakfast line of the Midnight Mission, and having been a social worker, I could see that I was out of alignment. I'm on the wrong side of the table. I'm the social worker, and I'm on the wrong side. So I had this God shot that, God, if you just help me, I promise, you know what I mean? And as it turned out, I got 9 years in this program, 9 years. And I worked the program kind of superficially. I went to meetings, I wasn't regular. I was of service, but I didn't surrender. You got to say, cocaine, whatever your drug is, you bad. You're just too bad for me. Okay? Hey, you over there, I'm over here. Forget it, And I didn't do that. I didn't surrender at a deep level. And I got into so much resentment. Resentment will kill you. So much resentment behind some little bullshit that was going on, that I thought, well, if I just have a champagne and a joint, I'll be okay. And I did that at 9 years sober. And the next thing I knew, cocaine was calling my name, saying, hey, you, okay? I know you better come over here. Really? And there I was down in Ghost Town, down in Venice, had nothing, no knowledge of that. And by this time, my brother is 6 years sober. We're living in the same apartment building. I got to tell you one more story before I run into that. We were out using one night. He said, let's go get some money from the ATM. And I said, okay, I got the card. So we're in such a hurry. It's at 2 o'clock in the morning to get the money out of the machine. The money comes out of the thing. We snatch the money and run and jump and get in the car. And he said, you get the card? I'm like, card? No, we left the card in the machine. And so let me tell you, if you do that, the machine takes the card back. So the next day I had to go to the bank people and talk. Why at 2 o'clock in the morning, just really insane, really insane. So here my brother is 6 years sober, and we're living in the same apartment building, different apartments, and cocaine's calling me to Ghost Town, where it's at. And there I was. But I got in the middle of a situation. You know, while we're in here getting our lives together, the game is getting stiffer out there. It's getting more treacherous, scandalous, everything, cutthroat. And I had been in here for 9 years, so I step out there like this little new puppy kind of thing, you know. There was a gang war going on in Venice between the blacks and the Mexicans because the Mexicans didn't think it was fair that the blacks were lacing heroin in the cocaine rocks to hook that customer. And that's some heavy stuff to try to get away. So you know what I mean? In here you're safe. In here you've made it to safety. I'm just so grateful I'm here to talk about this because there were drive-by shootings, we were hitting the floor. You know, here I am like, oh no. Once you have known this life, you don't get it out of your system. It doesn't get out of your head. You've got how do they say, a head full of AA and a belly full of alcohol? It messes it up. And I had to ask God. I remember one day I was in the rock house, everybody had gone on a scam. And I was just crying, saying, God, please get me back to my sober life. How in the hell do I get back? You know, how do I do this? Not that I could do it. Please, please help me. So he did answer, and that's why I'm standing here. The next day we got raided, and everybody went to jail, including me. We all got arrested. But that was my ticket back here. That was my ticket back to the sober life. So now we're talking a felony, we're talking possession of cocaine, we're talking some jail time, you know. So another thing about bottoms, there's always a lower bottom waiting for you out there. My bottom on Skid Row, my first bottom, was pretty low. That's pretty low. But guess what? 5 days in jail? That's lower, you know. And there's a black woman judge, and I felt just really embarrassed. You know, it's hard for a black woman to get up there on the bench. And she told me, if I see you in here one more time, you're going to prison for 3 years. And I was like, oh, you know. It's like, if you're here, know that this is precious. Hold on, work hard. This is a 24-hour reprieve, that's it. We have to work on the spiritual maintenance every single day. I worked really hard to keep that high going, really hard, you know, and now I have to work hard to keep what I have, to keep this sobriety. So I'm back, but I had to get that first 5 days by myself. My dad, by this time, oh my God, you know, I don't think anybody. Well, Sean had been to jail, but Sean's a man, and that's different. My dad had let me back into his life when I had gotten my first 30-day chip. And so then going out again, I just threw all that to the wind. You know, we get really confused when we lose our direction. And I'm just so grateful that I stand before you now with 10 years. I made it to 9 before and didn't get to 10. And so April 26, a couple of months ago, I made it to 10. And it's like, thank you. And my surrender at this point is so much more real, deep, serious. I have a healthy fear and respect for the disease. I think it wants me dead. I think it wants me in really bad straits, and it's up to me to make the choices every day to not have any part of that. So I just want to say to you that we're some really fantastic people when you clean us up. Look at us, you know. We're bright. We're the 10% of the population that's brighter than the rest. You know, and it's this that's gotten us into some decision-making difficulties. But look at the life that's been given as a reward for that, the reward for surviving, the reward for getting here and trusting. And I find that now that if I just ask God for the littlest prayer and step aside, I get this help. It's like this grace that takes over for me. I've been kind of not testing him, but kind of practicing, telling him what I want, and then trying not to get in it to do it, you know, and then amazed at how it turns out, because his way was better than mine, and so his result was better than mine. So we have these slogans around here. It's do the footwork and leave the results to God. Hold on to these little slogans, because during the day, when your voices start speaking to you to confuse you, hold on to the AA slogans, because they can keep you on the path. This time, I find that I love going to meetings. I stopped going to meetings, and we hear it all the time. I got into so much resentment. Those people don't like me. You know what I mean? And whatever that was about, it was stupid. Because where it ended me was in a situation, in an environment where some people really didn't like me. You know? They really didn't like me. I'd had way too much privileges. You know, so don't let the small, stupid stuff run you up out of here. You know, we are we're each other's bailiwick. We're each other's subculture. We're each other's yellow submarine. This is what's happening. You know, because nobody understands us out there like we understand each other. And I find when I hear people share, I love going to meetings now. I go to 6 meetings a week. And when I hear people share, I hear things about myself, the reflection in you, because we're all on this path together. To show you how wonderful God is, our mother still is alive. Dad died 6 years ago, and he was able to see both of us sober. And now we take care of our 87-year-old mother, Sean's mother, my stepmother. And that is a miracle. When we were using, they couldn't find us. Okay. I remember once it was Sean's natal birthday, which was yesterday, June 26th, and I'm sober and he's not. So I call up on the machine and I'm singing, "Happy birthday to you." And my mom called and said, "We haven't seen him in 7 weeks." You know, and it's like, wow, I knew where you were yesterday. It's such a miracle that we're here. It's such a gift. This is a gift, a blessing. Hold on tight. Hold on tight. You deserve every bit of this good life that the 12 steps want to give you and that God wants to give you. Thank you.